Okay, here we go. How about if we start a podcast?
Sounds good.
Hey, thank you for finding us on the interwebs. It's Thursday evening, and welcome to Caching in the Northwest. You know, this is the only podcast from the birthplace of geocaching in the great Pacific Northwest. Each week, we'll talk about caches and cachers from here and all around the globe. So while you're trying to get the sand out of your nether region, we'll be caching in the Northwest.
And that means it's time to bring in our beach baboon. Some say he has raised otters in his bathtub, and others say he runs after a new earth cache like a puppy that's just been released from the pound. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
These are all true facts. And as well, I also learned that I need to bathe my otters in oatmeal in the bathtub, which
makes the tub slippery. Don't do that.
Makes the tub slippery. That's right.
Your roommate gets cranky.
It does. Yes. We listen to the same podcast. I know that much. All right. Hey, it's great to be back with my friends and back with some new guests. You'll see some new faces here if you're watching the show. And not only that, you'll also hear something really weird in the audio on my side, and that's actually my voice. So I apologize in advance.
That's okay. We're used to that kind of weird audio each and every week.
All right. So apologies there, but yeah, I am fighting off a pretty bad cold right now, but I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to I'm looking forward to our friends, Land Sharks and Geo Travelers joining us. But before that, we've got special guests, Tom, Electric Water Boy, and Dee from the Geo Woodstock planning team here to share some special updates.
Howdy from Texas.
Howdy.
Howdy. That's so fun. I love saying that. All right. I'm gonna have to start practicing up if I come down there.
You better come.
Can you say A at the end of it, or is that like just mess it all up?
Yeah, pretty much messes it up.
Howdy,
Howdy. No, that doesn't work.
No? Okay. Well, you'll just have to make some exceptions for Canadians. All right.
Well, y'all could get away with it. We couldn't.
Perfect.
They take our Texas card away.
Yeah, I bet they would. All right. Well, first, we're going to throw out a quick reminder that we do appreciate the support of our patrons who help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. And a special thanks to Land Sharks, our corporate Denali level sponsor. Remember, if you are listening to this podcast, you have access to a special shipping offer. Canadian and U.S. listeners from landsharks.ca. Free shipping on orders of $50 Canadian or greater to a max of 25 Canadian on shipping costs. Use promo code SHIP50, SHIP50 when you check out your order. All right. And if you want to know more about supporting the show, click that Patreon link over there somewhere on the cachingandw.com website. All right. Chris, you had a YouTube comment you wanted to share.
You do. I do. We got a YouTube comment from Trond Hengensen that says, thank you for mentioning our Geo Tour and Mega in Norway. Fun fact, daylight starts around 7:30 and ends around 1700. That's 5 o'clock nowadays. Wow. So there's plenty of hours already. You know, we mentioned that maybe it's really dark there because, you know, it's pretty dark here, but it, I thought that was interesting. So they're getting...
They're not so far north.
No,
exactly. They're getting a good amount of light.
So what I'm hearing is that it's not quite daylight right now because currently, thanks to the chat, I know it's now 6:01 Friday morning in Norway, and Sege Hove is leaving for work in 20 minutes. So he's going to watch the show when he's done with his 12-hour shift. But thanks for checking in from Norway. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. Thank you very
much. How
much.
cool is that?
Appreciate you being there.
So, guys, don't worry. Tomorrow will happen.
Okay.
We already know.
We know from Norway.
Yeah, the sun may not come up. We don't know that yet, but daylight starts at 7:30. So
perfect.
I heard the sun will come out tomorrow.
Oh, thanks, Annie.
You're welcome.
All right.
Hey, normally we'd have a glow right here in this part of the show, but this week we're going to bring you some special guests with special announcements. But So we want to bring to the show Electric Water Boy and Dee from the Geo Woodstock 2019 Planning Committee. Welcome, guys. Thank you.
Howdy,
Thanks for
howdy.
having us.
I'm sorry. Howdy.
Yeah.
Very good.
I was so Washingtonian and welcome. Howdy.
You adapt so well.
We'll work on it.
Hey, well, thanks for joining us, guys. You know, there's been a few big announcements about Geo Woodstocks the past few weeks. So maybe you could both start off with a little quick catch up on those great announcements.
Oh man, are we busy down here? So a couple of weeks, the big announcement was made about the maze. We were able to work with HQ, and for the first time in about 5 years, bring the maze back to the U.S. Previously, for the last 5 years, the only way to get it was to go overseas. So you can come to Woodstock and get the maze icon. The cool thing about it is they're completely building it from scratch. So if you've been through the maze before, it's not the same maze. It's being built from scratch. Last weekend, I got together as they did a test run on putting all of the poles and everything together. And they're currently working on the content end of that. Vince Rowe, who caches his TTO2, and Brian Erickson, who is VE Viking, are kind of taking the lead on that project. And everything I'm seeing coming through is really exciting. They've planned lots of interactive stuff. There'll be lab caches throughout it, as well as some really cool memorabilia that most folks don't get a chance to see.
That's pretty cool. I actually saw your Facebook video that you were streaming of some of the assembly teams racing each other to see.
They were. We wanted to make sure it all fit together and they could put it up quickly, although it's going to be up for 4 days, but they wanted to make sure that all the parts went where they had planned them to go. So,
well, and watching that video, I had a whole bunch of questions that I can't ask right now on this part of the show because I'll use up all your time, but I had a lot of questions about the assembly and construction because it was very interesting to me, the parts that you guys are using, but we'll talk about that another time.
all right, cool.
They look very cool.
Nice. That sounds amazing. Yeah, I did it. I went there.
Nice.
Oh man.
We all have. We all have.
Excellent. Yeah. Was there anything else? So the maze, that's huge news. Was there anything else you guys wanted to make sure our listeners know about goings on at Geo Woodstock?
We're also going to do our catchy name for it right now is a Texas Challenge Activity Challenge. At our annual mega we have in Texas, it's called a Texas Challenge, where you go find as many caches as you can in a 4-hour time period. A bunch of years back, we came up with the idea of an activity cache where you have to go to some location and do something at that point. I'm not going to give you any clues just yet. So we've decided to put this together for different podcasts and vloggers to form teams and have some of their viewers come on board and play for them and check out some of our activity caches. So it'll be a competition of sorts. It won't take up all your time. So it's going to be split between Woodstock and Midnight Madness. So it's an elimination thing. So you have to do pretty good to get to Midnight Madness.
All right, there you go. That's interesting, and of course, once again, raises a whole lot of questions. So I'm sure folks.
Well, write those questions down, and when we come back in a couple of weeks, you can ask us.
Sounds good.
Oh, I love that.
Absolutely. So yeah, there you go, listeners. If you're listening and you've got questions about the maze or what did you call it? The Texas Challenge?
Texas Activity Challenge.
All right. Questions about either of those things, make sure you send them in and we'll ask these guys to answer those questions. We're looking forward to having you both return to the show in a few weeks. So we'll work together to schedule that out. We'll have time to talk a lot more about those who are planning to travel to Geo Woodstock, especially our listeners from the Northwest and elsewhere who aren't local to Texas and will need to learn a lot more about what
proper etiquette
to Texas and proper etiquette, y'all.
Oh, you almost did that.
I said, I'm sure I totally butchered it. It's probably syntactically incorrect, I'm sure.
Nah, you did a pretty good job.
Yeah, okay. If you said y'all. Now, if you were talking to all of us, it'd be all y'all.
Oh, y'all. Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, if there is maybe just a little teaser you guys have to get any listeners of ours who aren't already committed to showing up to Geo Woodstock, what little teasers would you throw out there for May 25th?
I would say if you're an icon person, that would be Geo Woodstock would be an excellent opportunity, because one of the plans we have for Midnight Madness. So you've got the maze and you've got the mega, possibly more. That's how we're putting it. On the books, we're also at Midnight Madness. We're doing it a little bit different this year in that we're having it at a completely different location along the river, and we're bringing in a pretty well-known Texas country band, Bubba Harper and the 24/7. They'll be coming in and playing for those that don't want to do the coin trading, but also we'll be publishing every possible icon you can, all at Midnight Madness. So you'll be able to get an Earth Cache, a Where I Go, a multi, a regular. So you don't have to run around town trying to get all of that. You can spend your time at Woodstock, have a good time, get the maze in, then come down there at 8 o'clock and get everything else you need. And then stick around at midnight, because we have a flash mob at midnight in front of a glow-in-the-dark Geo Woodstock sign. So we're trying to give everybody a little bit something to do. But if you're an icon person, I would say come on down. Bring your Muggle friends. There's lots of history around Fort Worth, as well as museums and that kind of stuff. So there's going to be a little bit something for everybody. And it's Texas, so we've got great beer, great barbecue. So, you're all set.
Awesome. Tom, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Thursday morning event. We have rented Texas Motor Speedway, and you can go and just watch, or for a little bit of money, you can go ride in the stretch limo that'll take you around the track about 100 miles an hour. It's an open air thing, so that's kind of cool. It stops in one of the 24-degree bank turns. Then for a little bit, well, a whole bunch more, you can do a ride along with somebody who knows what they're doing, or for a bunch of money. And this is where I'm crazy, because I like to do something crazy on my Woodstock trips. You can drive the car yourself, go do 10 laps at 150 plus miles an hour.
Oh, I so wanted to do that.
I'm thinking there's a lot of insurance waivers involved in that.
Pshaw.
The insurance wasn't cheap, but we paid it.
Wow. Awesome. Well, that is some pretty exciting stuff. So it sounds like there's a lot of really cool stuff. As Tom, as you're saying, in advance of the event, and Dee, as you're saying, at the event and beyond. So sounds like there's a lot of stuff to consider if you're on the fence about coming down. So we're really looking forward to having you guys back in a few weeks and really digging into this a little bit more. And you've created a few questions for me, so that's great.
Nice. Now, in the chat, we've got lots of questions for you guys, but you know what? We're going to hold those until you can come back.
Awesome. Sounds good.
So
I will throw this out. GC7 NBWQ. If you think you're coming, please log those will attend so we can plan accordingly.
That's right. I hear there's already 2,000 plus will attend. So
yes.
Yeah.
Looking
Excellent.
good. Looking good.
Right. I want to say, as she said it on stage in Ohio, GC7 Nancy Boy Water Queen.
That's
Nancy
hard to
Boy
forget
Water
now.
Queen.
My husband was in the Navy. I was not.
Well, she said it in a way I can't forget it.
Yeah, no kidding.
None of us can.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you guys so
Nice.
much for joining us. Hope that you have an awesome few weeks of planning and readiness until we talk to you next. And, we're really hoping everything goes as smoothly as it possibly can for the undertaking you have before you.
Thank you. We appreciate being on. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Now, before you go, if our
Yeah.
listeners have more questions about the event, where can they find you?
So we have the website, which is geowoodstock.com. You can find us on Facebook, either the the Geo Woodstock community group, or if you just go to Geo Woodstock and look that up, all of those go through. All of us get those. Worst case scenario, you can't figure it out, you can go to texasgeocaching.com, click the contact button, and all of us will get it that way. So you've got several ways to reach out to us.
Great.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to talk to you guys in more detail in a couple of weeks.
Great. Thanks so much. Y'all have a great night.
Hey, you too. Take care
Yep.
now.
Good night, y'all.
All right.
Good night.
See how I threw that y'all in there?
Well done.
Well done.
Wow.
I'm a natural
Yeah.
if I work at it.
You put the West in Northwest.
There you go.
Hey, well, we want to encourage all of our listeners to go check out Geo Woodstock coming up not too far away. And as they mentioned, they'll be back here as our guests coming up on a future episode of Caching the Northwest. We encourage you to check out them, contact them if you have questions, encourage you to come back and join us for that episode. And we encourage all of you to, well, show some love to your geocaching friends over Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All you have to do is make a post, use the hashtag CNWLovesBig, and you, yes, you, will be entered into a contest to win one of 2 signed, that's like autographed in pen and everything by hand, signed books from best-selling author Kat Cronenberg. Chris of the Northwest is waving them as a Price is Right. Yeah. The contest, well, it runs until midnight, February 28th, 2019. That's Pacific time zone here because we are in the Pacific Northwest. That's just 1 week. So you got a week to go out and encourage your friends, loved ones, neighbors, maybe even somebody that you don't know. Just pick a random Twitter handle and encourage them to get out and go geocaching. It's open to U.S. and Canadian residents, by the way.
I was going to say, I have seen some posts. I've seen some people posting some positive, encouraging words to each other using hashtag CNW loves big. That's awesome. Keep it up, folks.
Because CNW loves big.
We do.
And
All right.
such good people in the geocaching community. And there's a couple other people that have just popped in. And that we want to take this opportunity and welcome the Land Sharks.
Hey there, how's it going?
Hi there.
You like that little sleight of hand there? While we were distracting you with the thing, we just changed guests while nobody was looking.
Pay no attention to the people in front of the camera. That's right. And as well as the Land Sharks, we have Christy from the Geo Travelers. Hello, Christy.
Hey there.
Hey, there you are.
Nice. Now, the whole reason we've brought you in on this show is we're curious to hear about your recent Caribbean or Caribbean, it depends on how you want to pronounce it, geocaching cruise. Now, we know that travel.landsharks.ca has had previous cruises because, you know, we hear about these and we watch with jealousy as other people go on these cruises that we have not yet done. Could you tell us some more about where you've been and how you've taken geocachers to all these unique locations?
Well, actually, 1/3 of you have been on these cruises.
That's true. 1/3.
You want to go, Helen?
Sure. We cruised the Caribbean in 2015 and Alaska in 2016 in the summer. And then last summer we went to the Baltics. And then just most recently we went to the Southern Caribbean for 10 days. So the cruises have ranged from about 1 week to 10 days. And our next one coming up is going to be a little bit longer.
Ooh, there's a little teaser, and we'll get to that one in a few minutes. One of the things, so you mentioned 1/3 of the hosts have been on the cruises, and yay, it's me.
Oh man, I was going to leave that to the end.
Sorry, Chris, it wasn't you.
Because if it was, that would have been a real surprise.
You just don't remember, yeah. And one of the things that I have definitely noticed is the amount of work that goes into arranging these and getting it all set up for geocachers to really enjoy the experience. And so that it's not a lot of work as a geocacher to come along on these cruises and find some geocaches in multiple countries and just have a great time. So what does a geocacher need to know or plan in advance if they want to plan to come on one of these trips?
Well, the first thing that they should do is get onto the website, travel.landsharks.ca. That's the best place to start. We've got the itinerary on there, and that also has our email address if anybody has any specific questions. So travel@landsharks.ca. That'll get Helen or I. And if you definitely want to go, our travel agent's email address is on there. You can email Tara Bradley at tara.bradley@marlandtravel.ca.
Awesome.
And we have a secret Facebook group which is so secret people don't know about it until they actually sign up with Terra. Once they pay a deposit and commit to coming with us, then they get added to the secret group. And in there, people talk about puzzle caches they're going to solve or any personal caching goals that they might have for the trip. We also talk about packing tips and what to wear. And some experienced cruisers will share tips. And experienced travelers share their tips. We've got people that have done a lot of traveling, and we've got people that haven't done very much. So it's a great place for people to, to share what they need to know or what they do know.
Also, everybody, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about the cruises, on the website you can sign up for our newsletter, and then you get regular news about cruises that are coming up. But also, when you're committed and you've paid a deposit through Terra, then not only are you signed up on the Facebook group, not everybody's on Facebook, so you're also signed up on a newsletter list that's specifically for the cruisers, and that's where we share information, shore excursion information, for example, as we get closer to the cruise. If there's pocket queries and so on, I guess the pocket queries would get shared on the Facebook page. But there's information specific to the cruise, things you really need to know. Get shared through the newsletter to make sure everybody gets it. So that includes things like some of the timing, logistics, and stuff as well.
The pocket queries are also on our website for people that aren't on Facebook. So there's a link that they're on. They're not easy for people to find, but we have them there. We send out the link to people to say, here's a place to get all the information with the maps, the caches, the pocket queries, everything's ready, the bookmark list, everything's ready to download. So it's super easy.
That's funny. You said people aren't on Facebook.
There are a couple. We always have a few.
Yeah, there's 10 or 15% on every cruise that actually are never on Facebook. And the first time the rest of the group gets to connect with them is when we meet the very first time. But we're in touch with them by email and by newsletter. Very cool. Hey, speaking of the newsletter and you mentioned earlier that there's another cruise coming up. One thing I noticed in the last newsletter is, and you also talked a little bit about the deposits that are made with Terra to secure your spot. I noticed there is a special deal. Is that still there for the deposit for the next cruise? I think it's good till tomorrow. Oh, yeah.
Do you know, Christy?
I think it was actually today.
Ooh, so you have, like, depending where you live, a couple hours left.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this recorded, you missed out.
Wow.
Yeah. The key is to be signed up to the newsletter because when things like this come up, the information is shared, and then you can be on the ball with this stuff and take advantage of things like this.
Yeah, deposit's not really huge usually, but this was a special deal. It was like a $25 or $50 deposit. It was super low, I think. And yeah, some people did snap that up and get added onto the list for the next cruise.
Right. Well, all of these cruises sound just fantastic, and the stories that I've heard confirm that. So I'm wondering why every geocache in the world doesn't just show up for your cruise. Certainly you probably have a limit, or maybe this is really all just a ruse and it's just an excuse for you and the land monkeys to go travel together. I don't know.
I think he's catching on to us.
How many geocachers would you say typically join a Land Sharks geocaching cruise? Like, maybe let's start with the last trip. How many were on the last cruise?
71. But it's not all geocachers. There's often some snuggle muggles and kids that maybe aren't cachers or tag along. That happens occasionally. The first cruise, we had 48 people, and in between there, we've had numbers in the 60s and low 70s. So,
Baltics, we had 72. That was the largest number so far.
Yeah. We haven't got to a point where we're like, okay, that's it, it's too many, but we do discuss that occasionally.
Yeah. When you're filling 2 bus loads of people for tours, and you're thinking, okay, can we manage 3? Do we want to manage 3? That's when the discussion comes in. But so far, yeah, we've been doing well. I think everybody's had a really good time.
Yeah, everyone's really happy. It's the more people there, it definitely seems to be the more the merrier. We're seeing that.
So the real logistical challenge is really not on the ship itself. It's the shore excursions.
It's the shore excursions. Yeah, that's the big deal. Because some of the Caribbean, some of the buses were small. And, you know, there were tour companies that we contacted that had small buses, and we would have needed like 5 or 6 of them.
Well, some we were on.
Oh yeah, we were actually
Dominican
one
Republic,
island,
we
Dominican
were a
Republic.
convoy.
We were a convoy of little buses on the Dominican Republic.
Stack them in like cordwood.
It was
Yeah.
fun.
And there was one island where our group was on the largest bus on the island. The driver was pretty proud to be driving the biggest bus on the island to take our group around.
Now, you've mentioned a couple of the places you went, but you know, the Caribbean is full of islands. Can you tell us specifically where this last cruise went?
So this last cruise, we cruised out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. First off was the Bahamas to the cruise line's beach island. After that, we were supposed to go to Turks and Caicos, but actually missed it due to weather. But it gave everybody a bonus day on the ship, sea day, explore the ship, enjoy all the fun. So that was fine. Then we went to Dominican Republic, Bonaire, Curacao, and Aruba.
Nice. Now, did they say it was because of the weather, or did, you know, the captain follow the GPS and get a little lost, because sometimes it doesn't lead you exactly where you're supposed to go?
It was definitely weather.
Okay.
We're hoping his GPS was better than that.
Actually, on the topic of that, there was one thing that's pretty cool, and I think if you watch Cache Canada, and then when I get to my videos, there is some really cool navigational related items that you could interact with as a passenger up in the crow's nest on the 12th deck. Not a crow's nest like you're picturing if you're thinking of a pirate ship. The crow's nest is what they call the lounge and bar, etc., up on the top floor with a beautiful view out of the ocean. But
it's like 12 forward.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's where that came from. There you go. But just talking about the navigational aspect, the GPSs, that was actually one of the things that I thought was really cool on the ship. So they had big displays that would rotate, the screen would rotate through the actual bearing of the ship and the speed of the ship, the speed of the propellers, and land sharks. Chris, if I start using wrong terminology, jump in and correct me, because I learned a lot from Mr. Land Sharks on this last cruise, because I kept peppering him with questions about the ship. But that was really cool. I think that was one of the, I've never seen that before. And that was, I thought, a pretty neat thing. But segueing back to the trips, we did have some amazing stops at these islands. I really appreciated all the work, again, that went into preparing those. Many of them had tours that we could sign up for. And my question is, how did you guys manage to arrange all those great tours and experiences for geocachers to experience on the ship, or on the cruise when we went ashore?
Well, this time round, I looked after the shore excursions, and basically it took a bit of work. We first of all looked at what was available on the ship, Holland America's shore excursions, to see if there was something there that really would work. And in this particular case, there weren't, because most of the excursions were go sailing on it and go snorkeling and explore little things. And they were for small groups of people to do some of those types of things. And so we went and had a look at what tour companies were available, found with a bit of work, because, as you know, it was hard to find buses, for example, that are big enough to accommodate a large group. So we found tour companies that were capable of handling large group, talked to them, put together a bit of a tour of the island based on partly doing some research on what is really neat about those islands and what are the sort of the key highlights, talking to the tour guides about what they like to take people to, and then also looking at where the geocaches are in relation to those places. And so it's not a tour to go and get all the caches on the island, but we want to make sure that we're going to some of the locations where there's a geocache or two, so that we can kind of schedule those in as well. So then we ask a bunch of questions. We make sure they're insured. We make sure that we can get money back on the tours if for some reason the ship can't get in. And we do a bunch of research on their ratings and look at what other people have thought of their tours and their tour guides. And so based on all that stuff, we select the tours. We figure out how much it costs to do that, and then we let everybody know and sort of put out a package. And one go, actually, Christy builds a really neat thing where you can go on and you can select which go online, select which tours you want to do, and then it tells you what the bill's going to be for that, and then we just collect and pay the tour guide, some of which want a deposit, some of which want cash up front, and some of which want a big envelope of cash when you get there. So
yeah.
So that's kind of how it came together for the Caribbean one, but it's different for each place that we go.
Yeah, and sometimes there's people who have been to those islands before, and so they may not want to go on the tour because we're going to highlight some places that they've seen, and instead they might want to. Sometimes there's like small groups that will go rent a car, and they might go to a specific geocaches. Like if they want, some people want webcams, or they want to get the oldest cache on every island, and it may not be where we're going, and it's not a priority for Chris and I, but for some people it is, and so they look at what we're offering, and then they can choose to go do something themselves, or some people actually choose to do the ship's excursions. They may have been there before, and this time they want to go swim with the dolphins instead of, so.
As long as you can log the find, right?
Yeah, so we just make an option, make what we are doing an option for people.
At the very least, we want to make sure you're going to be able to light up the country on your map, on your geocaching map. We want to make sure that the excursions are also fun for the non-cachers, the snuggle muggles and so on. So it's important that we're exploring places that have some merit and not just looking for geocaches that are, sort of on the side of the road somewhere and it's, the location, it's the place. The touring is all about exploring the location, the place. If we can fit in some food in there, so we have lunch or something as a group, that's always fun to do. So, yeah.
So you're saying snuggle muggle. See, I'm learning terms too, Land Monkey. Snuggle muggles will still have
snuggle monkey.
There's only one snuggle monkey.
I know Land Monkey has a snuggle monkey, but I don't think he wants to share, and that's okay. But how about a snuggle muggle? They're still going to have fun, even though this cruise is all about geocaches, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so first and foremost, our goal is to see the countries that we're going to. A lot of us have never been there before, so we definitely want to see the highlights. And even on board the ship, there's fun for the non-geocachers. On this past cruise, we actually had a scavenger hunt set up on board the ship. There was all sorts of interesting art spread out on the ship, and so we had to go around and find the little itty-bitty things hidden in the art. And of course, there was a prize for whoever got the most right.
Who was that?
It was you guys.
So we had nothing to do with setting up the scavenger hunt. Roy RCA 777 actually did the scavenger hunt
with his
setup
with the ladies
with his harem.
With his harem.
and then we got to participate along with everybody else, and a few of us did very well.
Yeah, you guys took first, our team took second.
Yeah, I had said once the monkeys and the sharks combine powers, it's going to be pretty damn competitive, and it was.
Yeah, it was very competitive.
That was a lot of fun, though, and it was neat because, Christy, like you said, there was interesting art all over the ship. So there was the experience, the opportunity on a sea day, which is normally when there would be other events going on the ship. So you have other things you could do as well. But there was all kinds of different stuff that was planned for the sea days, not just the scavenger hunt, but there was a reviewer panel and what else?
We did a vlogger panel, a vlogger session.
We did, yep.
We did a vlogger session, and we did a photo seminar.
Yep. So all kinds of stuff.
And also someone, Linda Mashansky is a volunteer she is the provincial rep for Adventure Smart in Saskatchewan. So she did a presentation. There was lots to do, as well as everything that the ship offered. I mean, there was our offerings, and then there was so much happening on the ship. You really had to, if you wanted to see something, you had to schedule it in.
Yeah, wow. Sea days were a lot busier than you'd think they were, but it's your choice as well, though, which is cool.
And you still had time to hit the midnight buffet.
Yeah, there was very little going to bed at midnight, at least for us.
Wow, that sounds like it was quite filled, not only on the excursion days, but the sea days as well.
Yeah.
Could you share one or two highlights from that Caribbean cruise that really stick out to you?
So my highlight was on the island of Curacao. One of the stops our tour took us to was Fort Beaconburg, which is this amazing old fort right next to the Caribbean Sea. What was most fun for me was I had my kids. My daughter's 5, son is 7, and they had a blast climbing up the ladder to the top of the fort and climbing on the cannons. So that was a lot of fun.
Oh, that is fun. Helen, Chris, do you have anything?
Yeah, well, on Curacao, it was my birthday that day, which was very, very cool. The entire bus sang happy birthday to me. But one of the big highlight for me was going snorkeling in Curacao and all the fish, just amazing fish. And they were so close, they were almost bumping into your mask. It was pretty amazing. And on Bonaire, there was a cache called 1,000 Steps. And you went from the road down to the beach. It wasn't exactly 1,000 steps. It was a long way down. But when you got down there, it was like squeaky sand when you walked on it. The sand kind of was like singing sand. And it was just gorgeous down there.
And I liked Aruba. Actually, the highlight for me, I was in Aruba when I was in the Navy years and years ago. Used to be a marine engineer. That's why I was teaching Jay all this stuff. But anyways, yeah, Aruba was really nice for me to kind of revisit. So exploring some of the places that I saw back in the 90s was really, really kind of fun, and really enjoyed that. And on, where was the slave fest? It was Bonaire, right?
Bonaire.
Right. So, and my favorite cache, I think, was was an earth cache to do with staghorn coral, and it was on Bonaire, and it was along the beach where they had these slave huts where the slaves that used to work in the salt ponds would keep their belongings. So it was really quite a fascinating place, both from seeing the salt ponds there and all the staghorn coral on the beaches, and also these old slave huts. It was just pretty, really, really neat. And then, of course, on the beautiful blue Caribbean Sea, it was just gorgeous.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong in the Caribbean, that's for sure, as long as the ship can pull in. And yeah, it was disappointing the one day, but my goodness, we made good time made a good time of being on the ship for that day anyway. So that all worked out in the end. So everybody wants to know the next question everybody has: where are you heading next? When is it? And when should people be signed up by if they're interested?
So the next cruise is to the Eastern Mediterranean, and definitely if they want more information, get to the website, travel.landsharks.ca. And if this trip doesn't work for you and you're thinking, okay, what's next after that? Get on our newsletter list, because that's going to be one of the first places that it gets announced.
Yeah, the Eastern Mediterranean cruise is going out of Rome, and it's going east from there. So we're not going towards Spain, we're going towards Greece and up into the Adriatic Sea. It's 12 days long, and it's October the 18th to the 31st, and it returns back to Rome again. And I know some people are planning on arriving in Europe earlier or staying later because they want to add on and spend time exploring once they've spent all that money to get over there. So yeah, Tara's got some suggestions for people that might want to do that. She's got some options. People might want to go to Venice or Florence. So yeah, if it's something you think you might like to do, get a hold of Tara or get a hold of Christy or I if you've got questions, and we can get you booked up.
We've had a lot of questions about what's after that as well.
What's after that? Yeah.
And so after that, we don't know.
Oh, I thought this was going to be the special.
No. You got to get us back on for the big reveal. We hope to. There's a few things we got to sort out with regards to plans for 2020. However, what we are looking at doing something, and we should be able to make a decision sometime late this spring, April or May this spring. We should have a decision made, but there will be another cruise after the Mediterranean one, and it'll be sometime in 2020. That's what we're looking at.
Not early 2020.
Not early 2020.
No. If anything, it would be like
later
fall,
in 2020.
A year after the Mediterranean one.
Yeah.
Right. Plenty of time for people to plan ahead and book for the next one if they can't make the Adriatic cruise.
That's right.
Excellent.
But the website and the newsletters are where you'll find out more information as it comes out. That's the first place it'll be.
We have 2 newsletters. There's the lunch, and you can sign up for them both on our websites. We've got the travel.landsharks.ca website, and then there's the regular landsharks.ca website. And both have newsletters. One is just travel focused, and the other one is travel plus everything else, geocaching.
Oh, that's good to know. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that is good to know. There was a question from Bounce asking which cruise line. Christy, you answered that in the chat. Do you want to handle that one?
Yeah, so the next cruise is on Holland America. Helen, I believe it's on the Koningsdam.
Yes.
Am I correct? Yep.
Yes. Which is supposedly the identical ship to the one we were just on, the New Stanton Dam. It's just it was launched just before the New Stanton Dam, so it's also a new ship, similar layout, probably similar crow's nest, and similar music themed ship. So there's lots and lots of music venues. So in the evening you can go from show to show to show. They're live shows and they're fantastic.
Now, wait a minute. If it's an identical ship, are they going to have the same art on the walls?
We hope
Already
not.
You've already got the scavenger hunt worked out. That's not fair.
I know. I have a bit of a photographic memory to it. It would not be cool.
I've actually seen some pictures on the Koningsdam, and it's interesting to see the progression of electronics and technology between the two. Because if you go in the photo area, the ships always have a photo area, and they display pictures that they've taken of you, and you can buy pictures if you want portraits. They have photo nights and things, and you can get portraits done. So they display all the pictures around on these shelves. But on the New Stanton Dam that we were just on, that's all electronic now. They don't have a gallery full of pictures on shelves. So I'm sure there'll be a few little things like that, where if you were on the New Stanton Dam, where you'll see a sort of a step back of a year in technology with regards to the Koningsdam. But I'm sure it'll be a lovely ship.
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting, since they're identical designs, but you've got that year build time in between where technology does not wait.
It waits for no one.
Nice. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on and telling us about the upcoming cruise. Now you've piqued our interest for what's coming after that. But we'll wait patiently until you're ready to make an announcement. So thank you, guys. We're going to get ready for the Mediterranean cruise in October 18th through 31st, 2019.
That's right.
That's right.
Excellent. And we've already said where people can contact that. So it's Landsharks or travel.landsharks, and that's sharks with a Z.ca.
Right.
Do they have those Zs on the keyboard in the US?
They have another funny name. I can't remember.
Has a similar look, I hear.
Yeah.
Sometimes people put a crossbar through those, and sometimes they don't. I don't know if that changes the pronunciation of the letter or not.
They're easier to hang on to.
That's right. Hey, folks, thank you for taking the time to tune in and watch this episode. We hope you enjoyed it, because it's sure a lot of fun for us. Now, next week, we are talking about the Hands Across the Border event. And that's enough right there, but there's more. Ooh. Top cache tips for the Willamette Valley with Subway Mark.
Always great to have Subway Mark on the show. And don't forget that next week is also the deadline to enter that contest. So encourage your friends on social media with CNW, hashtag CNW Loves Big. Following that, it'll be March, and we'll be talking about Geo CoinFest EU Mega Tour on March the 7th.
There you go. And hey, at this point of the show, as I always do, I want to take a moment to thank Landsharks. Thank you, Landsharks. Our corporate Denali level sponsor, Landsharks with a Z.ca, is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online or go in person and visit their store in Victoria, British Columbia. They are open 6 days a week, except holidays, and they ship online orders. And they ship them daily. So make sure you check that out. Now, we also want to thank our faithful Denali level supporters. That's, of course, Landsharks, Bounce, Limax, Team Squirrel, and WorldCaching.com. If you want to know more about supporting this show, click that Patreon link on the CachingNW.com website. And if you do, we will read your name. Now, who's reading them tonight? Who's reading them tonight, guys?
How is your lung capacity with this cold, Land Monkey?
Well, we can find out. All right, I'll give it a go. We'll see how we can do. Broncos fan for life, Sprouter, Camp Clan, Tick Magnet, Kev Mac, D, Subway, Mark Doramore, Dune Buddy, Kid Vegas, 19, Geo Nav Pros, Wino, Seattle, Acrodoc, Billy Robson, Genice, Antaeus, Keats, 94, Trexer 0, MC3, Cats, Kennel Barb, and Nerve, Wet Coaster, and Green Words, and our newest sponsor. Got it. Even with some drama at the end. And thanks to our newest supporter, our newest patron, that is Sergey Hove. Thank you very much.
Hey, well, this has been great. I always used to dream about going on a cruise back when I had dreams. But until next week, if somebody wanted to reach out and contact any of us, well, let's toss it to our guests. We've mentioned it before, but maybe somebody was driving, just pulled over, has that pen out. Land Sharks, Christy, where would you like them to reach out and contact you?
So if they want to visit the website, it's travel.landsharks.ca for the cruises, or just landsharks.ca for regular land sharks, and travel@landsharks.ca, or the office at sharks.ca.
Awesome.
And Instagram is Go Land Sharks, and our Facebook is Land Sharks.
And some great content up there too. I've browsed those feeds. Land Monkey also has a bunch of great content out there on social media and the interwebs. How can they find you, Land Monkey?
Hey, well, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, or Periscope at LandMonkeyGC, and on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. But new videos coming out regularly, and we just launched a new one yesterday. That's what I do when I'm homesick, is I edit video. So the latest one is on YouTube. Just look for Land Monkey, LANMONKEY, on YouTube. Yeah, I don't have it in me to sing it out tonight. Sorry. Wits End, buddy.
You're forgiven. Wits End, right here Thursday nights, Twitter, Facebook, and geocaching.com. Chris?
Twitter at CachingNW, Facebook CachingNW. You can always look at the Instagram, or the Facebook, or the Twitter, but the Instagram is Caching in the Northwest. Head on over to CachingNW.com/host, read our bios, find all those links we just mentioned, because they're too long and complicated to write down, and you just want to click anyway. But we also want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Don't forget that you can be part of the show. Call 253-693-TFTC. Leave us a comment, ask a question, send us up the river any time of the day or night. Of course, you can email us, feedback@CachingNW.com. Don't forget that your support helps keep quality shows coming. If you like this show, please click that Patreon link on the CachingNW.com website and subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. This show is produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jay Kennedy, and Jim Paulwitz. This show's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2019 by Chris Umfenauer. And now we invite you, we plead, we beg you to stay tuned for the after show. Okay, we don't plead and beg. We just invite you. Oh, folks, thank you for joining us. If you're new to Caching in the Northwest, the after show is a time where we just answer maybe odd questions, maybe unrelated questions would be the better term, in the chat that weren't that didn't fit into the show, or perhaps you had a question you wanted to ask and you wanted to start a whole new thread of conversation. Just use the hashtag FTAS. That's for the after show. We pronounce it FTAS.
You know what? You can do a hashtag FTAS any time of the week, and
any time of the day or night.
And we search the internet for hashtag FTASs every once in a while. And so if something comes up in between shows, we'll make sure we grab it and we'll talk about it in the next show. And I also want to throw out GSM ×2, GSM X2, once again has very nicely made sure to remind people, if you're watching this on YouTube and you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. That really helps us. So we appreciate that.
You know, it really does. Those algorithms work with a thumbs up and such. So if you're also listening on iTunes, give us a review. Just toss it in there. So let's see. Our first of the FTAS is Keats94. He says, how many cachers have mistaken a real iguana for a geocache on one of those Caribbean land shark cruises?
I'm sure there's been lots. What I will say though is iguana tastes kind of like chicken.
It's a little bit drier, actually.
Yeah,
It's really good with
and it's
beer.
got little tiny
Lots of little
bones.
bones.
Lots of
Yeah.
little bones. Yeah.
We had
And-
iguana soup.
Yeah.
On
Um,
purpose?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay,
we wanted
good.
to try it. It was very good.
No, I wasn't like chicken soup, and then it was like halfway through. It's like, what is this? No, it was actual iguana soup we ordered. It was good.
And we did see a very big iguana about
About as big as
big.
your screen and big.
about as big as the screen. At the top of the 1,000 steps cache in Bonaire. It was on the rocks. It was sunning itself, and then it started walking around, and I got some video of it, and I just sent that to Jay. But yeah, so it was very big. It was very cool. That was neat.
Yeah, I have photos of that one as well. I'll try and pull that up and screen share it while we're talking.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, reading that question, I knew there had to be some history behind it because that's just an odd thing to ask.
Yeah.
One thing that's not so odd, GSM times 2 wants to know who on the podcast is going to Geo Woodstock 17. I had to do math in my head.
I think we're going.
Not 100%
Not
committed.
100% sure, but we haven't been for a few years. We used to go to Geo Woodstock. We went to 3 in a row, and then we took a break, and now we're thinking that we're going to go again this year.
But we'll decide within a few weeks.
Now, would you be going as attenders or vendors?
Attenders.
Attenders.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually a lot of work to bring the store as such down to events in the States.
Sure.
Yeah, we have to
and just work.
export-
It's with exports,
export and
imports,
import
and working. It's just a pain in the butt.
And we're not allowed to be in our booth selling as Canadians because then we're taking jobs from Americans. So we have to. We've done it before. We've been vendors 3 times, and we've hired or pleaded or begged or bribed American friends to be at the till in our booth. Just did lots of short shifts,
Huh.
so that we were doing it, according to the law.
Interesting. Things you don't know about.
Yeah. It was kind of cool. We could show people our wares and we could help them choose product, but we couldn't actually ring through the sale.
How about you guys? Who else is going? Or maybe going? Any other thoughts?
I'm a maybe.
I'm a maybe.
I'm a probably not.
I'm going to continue my streak.
Witsend is so consistent.
He is. Yeah.
Thank you.
No
Hey, if you want to hear more about Geo Woodstock, I hear there's going to be a podcast episode coming up one of these days. So tune back in and find out more.
There sure is. Sure is. All right.
Bounce says he might go.
Great.
If a maybe, says GSM times 2, log your will attend because
No, won't do it.
No.
We'll log when we're going to go.
We'll log
when we're going
to
to go, we'll put the will attend, and I think that's the way it should be.
Yeah, we will wait till we know for sure because I don't want to have a whole bunch of people go, oh, land tracks are coming. Oh, no, they're not. Because we've got a lot of friends down there, a lot of friends in that area.
Same idea.
And so, yeah, I'd like to wait until we know we're going for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So I can't, for some reason, find the one right now that you guys that we took.
That's okay.
Oh, picture?
Yeah, but I have a different one here. I'm going to try and screen.
It was this big.
It was, yeah.
No,
I've got a picture of the other one that Chris and I were chasing around after we did the webcam.
All right.
That one. That was hilarious.
That was about this big.
It was.
You do remember this
really
is mostly an audio podcast.
The first one was about a meter.
Yeah. And the second one was about half that size.
Yeah.
But
It was blue, wasn't it?
there's 2. There was a blue one that
bright.
was smaller and then a green one that was larger.
It's probably a Smurf. They're smaller.
Yeah.
And blue.
Smaller and blue. Yep.
I don't understand Smurfs. How can there only be one girl? Anyway,
I don't think we want to have that discussion. Right?
oh, that's not an after show discussion, is it?
No. After show.
If you want to know more, listen to my Smurfs podcast.
There you
Jay,
go.
I just sent you one picture. I think I
okay.
sent you the picture you're looking for, Jay.
Okay, I'll open that up while we're.
See if that's the one. It's you and Chris photographing the little one going right by the webcam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
There we go. I want to at least.
So while we're waiting for that, Brian Lang wants to know when Land Sharks organizes a cruise in Australia, maybe then Wits End will finally get to go down under like he wanted on the early years of this podcast, and still currently today. You still want to go down under.
Yeah.
I just I don't know if I caught it before. I just was watching a show and realized that Ayers Rock in Australia is no longer officially called Ayers Rock.
It's out of bounds too. You can't go there, I don't think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all part of that same thing. From what I understand, it's like a sacred site, and it's now kind of you're not supposed to go there.
Is it ULURA or URULA?
Oh, I read that. Yeah.
Uluru?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uluru. Yeah. There it is. There it is. Now I got it. So, oh wait, we have iguana sightings.
Yeah. So this is
We have an iguana sighting.
This is the one
There.
that Chris and I were chasing around, and so it was pretty funny because
It's only about that big on my screen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
You know, on my
gorgeous.
phone, it just looks this big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the beauty of what was funny was how close Chris and I were able to get to this poor guy, but we were also trying to respect the wildlife, right? And not. So when I say chasing it around, we weren't actually chasing it around. It sounds worse than it was.
No, we were getting in front of it so that it couldn't go. No. We were certainly trying to give it its space. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a piece of advice for anybody who loves taking wildlife photos is always make sure whatever wildlife you're taking a photo of has an escape route, because that's when you get in trouble, when you remove its escape route. So
Well, the other thing actually related to that is if the wildlife you're photographing changes its behavior because of your presence, then you're too close.
that's very good advice.
Good.
That
Yeah.
is great
Very good.
advice.
Yeah. There you go.
And that works for the people as well as you're photographing.
Yeah.
They change their behavior. Yeah.
Turn into goofs. Yeah.
Keats 94, I'm guessing math isn't his strong point because he asks, would it be I would be forever grateful if some new caches got published near the Supreme Court, as I may be serving on a jury for 90 days in April.
Oh, lucky guy.
That's a long April.
Long April, or it just feels like 90 days.
Maybe it's metric.
Oh yeah, it's metric days.
No, our metric Aprils have 100 days.
Oh, okay.
Everything's multiples of 10. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, 90 is multiple of 10 too, but like 10 and then 100. Yeah.
All right, Keats. People will try and keep that in mind.
That's funny.
Awesome. All right.
Not if you're really stuck in jury duty for 90 days, but 90 days in April.
Yeah.
Oh, he meant starting in April. Oh, that's it. Okay. Keith, I'm sorry I questioned your math skills. It was your English skills I should have questioned.
All right.
Comments of certain hosts do not reflect the views of the intent. Never mind.
He math and words tonight. I'm right there with you.
Awesome.
My words no so good tonight.
Well, we've had a fantastic group of folks on the chat tonight. So thank you to everybody who has joined us live for this episode. You guys have been fun and interactive and asked lots of great questions. And just as a reminder, if you had Geo Woodstock questions that you asked in the chat that we didn't get to ask our guest, we are capturing all of those, and we will put them into a future show with those folks to go through and answer them for you. And of course, a very special thank you to Land Sharks and Christy from Geo Travelers. You guys, thank you for making the time to join us tonight. It's been fun to see you again.
You bet.
Thanks for
fun as
having
always.
us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Very welcome.
Always great to have you.
Good night, folks. And until next week, get out and get caching in the Northwest.